They just it's the opposite end.
Well, the good news is we've been learning Tanya. We ended off Perek, the 12th Perek last week, Erev Rosh Chodesh, Erev Shabbos. Now we're on Rosh Chodesh Adar and Adar Sheni, and the whole Indian of Adar Sheni is really Tikkun of Ben Chaver. My Rebbe said Erev Shabbos. He says he ended off his shmuz on Parshas V'yachar Shkolim, that the Ikka Mitzvah Purim, if anyone would ask him what they should be most focused on, of all the Kavanas, all the Avodah, he says Matanis Yevonim. He says to give people who really need Be'emes, find out who the people who really have a sarek and they're true tzedakahs, to give to those people. That is the mitzvah of Purim, like the highest level mitzvah you can do in Purim. And all the shlach manas, all this extra stuff, like it's, when people give not just 2 shlach manas, they give like 100 and fancy, all that stuff. No. So the focus is Matanis Yevonim. The focus is not just the giant Purim, so the focus is giving charity to the people who need it, and that's going to make the biggest nachas ruach. And you see that we ended off the Tanya. It's all about fixing up commercial costs. Limud mi Yosef imachiv. So you learn out from Yosef, the brothers. That was what Yosef did for the brothers. He was mafanes all of Am Yisrael. Right. They were at a point where there was no food. It says, "Analizar Yosef." You can say in the Gemara, "I'm a seed of Yosef." How can you say that? Because at one point, if it wasn't for Yosef, none of us would be here. Right. Yosef fed all of Am Yisrael at that point in Mitzrayim, and therefore he came like the father of Am Yisrael by this merit that he gave us all nourishment. So we can all say Anazar Yosef. What's the Indian of saying Anazar Yosef? It says in the Svarim and in the Gemara as well. I think brings it. It's a shmira for Ayin Hara and Kedushas Abris, because Yosef is the epitome of those two things: Shmira Sinai of Hamalach Goddess Mikara, being protected from the Ayin Hara, and also the idea of eventually. Initially it wasn't a sign, but eventually that was the bracha that his sons got, and that's the kind of energy you want to tap into. But it's a lot to do with tzedakah and being tzedakah tzeddikim. You see it, they're mashpiyim, they're giving all the time, giving. My Rebbe, when you give to him, it's going to be given out.
Tolna Rebbe.
Yeah, he's going to give it out. A lot of tzeddikim would never go to bed with any money in the house. They always made sure by the end of the day they'd given out everything they have. And somehow they managed to live that way. I'm sure the Gobayim found it very difficult because they probably wanted to hold on to it. Yeah. But the rabbis just kept giving and giving and giving, and that was generally the derech of real tzaddikim. Right. Like the Divrei Chaim, and I can go through a long list of tzaddikim that were noed kacha. He ends off this beautiful Perek with a nice thing from a YY, original YY, from Yosef YITZCHAK Schneerson, Frierdiker Rebbe. When a Jew studies Torah, he feels like a student before Hashem. When wisdom is studying, that's wisdom. When he prays, he feels like a child before his father. So this answers up the idea that Beinoni, that he has this moment during tefillah of spiritual elevation. So why is it specifically talking about tefillah? Because you become like a son to Hashem. Whereas when you're learning, you become like a talmid to the Rebbe, to Hashem. It's a nice way of thinking about it. But the point is that deep connection going on a very intimate way is what gives strength to the nefesh elikus to awaken and to weaken the inner struggle of the nefesh bahamas. But once again, for the Beinoni, it never manifests either way. That's what we're learning. So we're going to go a bit more into this description of the Beinoni. I'm going to start to clarify more.
What's the name of the Perek for you? Mine calls it the Beinoni's Complex Life.
Oh, so mine says chapter 13. Sorry, it's a bit less interesting. Yeah, but the idea, the Beinoni's complex life. Yeah, it is complex because it's back and forth. Yeah, because what happens with Beinoni, says the Alter Rebbe, that the desires come up and down. His divine soul constantly prevents such desire to find expression, actual thought, speech, or action. It doesn't manifest. On the contrary, these 3 segments are exclusive domain of divine soul and are utilized by the Beinoni only for thought, speech, and action of Torah study and films and mitzvahs. But the nefesh bahamas is still there, bothering. V'zeh yuvan loshin maimas razal Beinonim zeh v'zeh shoftin. This is a new thing. We didn't say this before. Accordingly, we may understand the comment of our sages that the Beinonim are judged by both their good and their evil inclinations. Both judge him and dictate his conduct. As scriptural support for this contention, the Talmud cites the Diksiv ki Amid liyamin evyon la'ashia mishpatei nafsho. It's based on the pasuk in Tehillim. He, the Almighty, stands at the right hand of the poor man to save him from them that judge his soul.
You just read this for a second here.
Yeah, go on.
So we're saying that in the case.
Yeah.
Right, okay, he has like that classic cartoon character. You have one guy on your right
Oh, the
shoulder,
little devil on the
a
shoulders.
devil on the left shoulder,
Yeah, like Mickey Mouse and all that. Scott,
and
just
yeah,
Donald Duck.
you're the bad guy and the good
Yeah.
guy whispering in your ear.
Yeah. Or Popeye.
You see, they stole it from the Tanya.
Yeah, they did.
For stealing that, then they're trying to steal our land.
Yeah, sure.
Anti-Semites. Fine, so
But you see the extension now. We're getting to more explicit understanding of what is going on with these voices, like who, because it's not manifesting. It's just keep reminding ourselves.
Also, the Baal Tanya, it's like interesting. I wonder. I mean, obviously, he did this for a reason, but at least my experience of it is like he sets you up in this situation where you start learning it, and you're like, oh, there's a tzaddik v'rala, there's a Russia, you know, a Russia Gomer, a Russia Gomer, and then there's the Beinoni, and you're just like, I'm, you know, almost like to feel like I'm definitely not a tzaddik.
Yeah.
Very likely not a Beinoni. I feel like I might be a Russia.
Yeah.
And then as it progresses, he almost like slowly eases yourself into the idea that, wait a second.
It's possible to be a Beinoni.
I actually think I am a Beinoni. I might not be a Beinoni all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm a Beinoni right now.
Yeah, I'm learning Torah right now. My nefesh elikus is awakened. I'm using the food and drink I ate to serve Hashem.
If I'm a Beinoni now,
I'm not feeding the nefesh bahamas, I'm feeding the nefesh elikus.
Right, if I'm a Beinoni now, that means that yesterday I was a Beinoni too. You know, even if, whatever, it all, as if, everything's as if. It's all about the achshav.
Yeah, that asif was a very important addition from the Baba
as if, and
that's going to stay with us throughout this whole.
So now suddenly he's like.
But the idea that Beinoni is ruled by both inclinations. For one sin, his evil inclinations must rule him. For him to do good, his evil inclinations must rule. The Beinoni, who supposedly does both, must be ruled, not merely judged by both. However, because the Beinoni given the previous chapter, it's clear that Beinoni is merely judged by both and not ruled by both. That's the chiluk. There's judgment, but there's not rulership. Why? Because remember, the tzaddik, the Beinoni is not tzaddik. He still has a nefesh bahamas in a real way, but it never manifests, so it never rules over him. The nefesh bahamas.
Right, he says the word here.
Judges him.
He says the word, are there internal judges?
Yeah, internal. That's important.
It's like internal.
Yeah, it's an internal thing. And think about it. How much inner voices do we deal with day after day? I don't know if there's a human doesn't. Even Shabbos. You think it's Yom Menucha. Most people have voices. You're trying to drum chakras. You're totally focused on every word, or you're having this inner conversation going on.
Right, exactly. It's like the little internal judges when I'm driving in the streets of Ephraim.
Yeah.
The guy in his like scooter.
Yeah.
And I'm like stuck behind him now.
Yeah.
Going 3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
My internal judge is like.
When that happens, if my wife's giving me a lift, I just say I'm getting out here and I just walk, rather than make my wife just carry on behind this person.
No. That's what I want to do, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's my internal judge. My internal judge says that my time is more important than anyone else's time.
Yeah, and also maybe the have a meaning that he shouldn't be in my way.
Right. Why should he take?
I'm doing something important, and
my car is bigger than his. The craziest rationalizations. My car is bigger than
yours.
But
but does it manifest? Like, do you start knocking?
I don't knock the guy. I don't.
Just suddenly like put your bumper on him and then push him off to the side of the road, and he goes off the cliff. You did that in your head, maybe, but did you do it in reality?
Right? Yeah,
no.
I felt like that. Right, I never did that.
Never did it. No, I'm saying that people who would actually do it, they would show him, would actually do it,
one time
and they'd have a good laugh seeing this guy flying out down the road. I'm just saying, there are people out there, they're evil people.
Right.
And they let the YITZCHAK run the show.
Right. They're the behemoths that live next
door.
The whole jungle.
The whole jungle of business. They have businesses. People constantly wanting to get one over someone else.
Yeah.
That's the business. You're in business world. I'm sure you see it all the time. You have to constantly they've let the YITZCHAK run their business rather than, and they think that that's the derech of Hatzlacha, and it sometimes is. Because Hashem allows the Rishonim to have success, and then He wipes them off. But He gives them initially success, and then they think, "Look, it works."
So many stories with these guys, especially coming out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It gets so amplified.
Sure.
Guys. One guy did that. Recently, he did mamish just total yitzhara.
Yeah.
And he ended up, as a result of what he did, he put 2 massive businesses into not out of business, but in a situation where their business is now in real
So probably lots of other people lost work,
And these two
destroyed
businesses,
families.
one of the businesses,
It's a whole.
one of the businesses is a company by the name called Madison Title Company.
Wow.
They hire, one of their ends from company in Lakewood, they hire billions of dollars. They hire hundreds and hundreds of koil women.
Wow.
And like that's their Indian.
So it's affected all of them.
Because they work for them, because they just need people to do the paperwork.
Sure,
so it doesn't need to be in America.
There's many similar kind of businesses here.
And so, and
which give a lot of business to the
and like they built their model also like, it's like a lot of people in that industry get kickbacks, right?
You know, sometimes these businesses take advantage of the color wives. So when they end up going through hard times, it's in a way that maybe they need to look at how they're treating their color wives.
That could be too also.
So it's never like a clean story. Like Hashem, it's never like unfair. Hashem knows what He's doing throughout every single hashgacha pratis for each person, how everything gets affected. It's all min hashamayim, perfectly orchestrated to fix everyone. But the point is, there's a moment where a person thinks the YITZCHAK will help, but that's when he starts to give into the YITZCHAK. But here he's never doing that. He's just hearing the voice. It doesn't mean he's never listening. It's never ruling him. That's what you have to understand. That's the madrega of Beinoni. The YITZCHAK is never actually ruling. It's talking, but it's not ruling. That's the point. Yeah. He is ruled by both the good and the evil, God forbid. Because what happens when the evil nature gains rule over the small city, which is him, the person, rules one's body? Mikra Russia, he's going to become a Russia at that moment. So we're really clarifying. Yeah, so we're really clarifying the as if before. Rather, it shows you with these kind of things you have to wait a little bit to clarify, because then we were going crazy. Like, what does this mean? But comes the next chapter.
Don't be Russian. Yeah. Don't be a Russian.
There we go. Don't rush. Rather, even Christian's Beinoni is no more than what? A magistrate, a judge who expresses his opinion on a point of law. So it's saying opinions. Like you had before of driving that guy off the road, or shooting him at least. Right. But you didn't. It was a voice, but you didn't do it. Right. Because your YITZCHAK is running the show.
YITZCHAK. Or my wife is driving.
In fact, the decision not necessarily final. But there's another magistrate who disagrees with him. And this other mishpat, the other shofet, is machriya, is lachriya lebeneim lahalacha kedivrei machriya. And the final verdict will rest with the arbiter. And who is the arbiter? Right. So similarly, the evil inclination, this now is bringing it into Mitzias. The evil inclination is this like judge on the left side of the heart, left side. From the heart, the side sends to the mind for contemplation. It gives you thoughts that maybe you shouldn't be having. Right. It comes to the right side of the heart, and in the mind, he doesn't. So first it goes to the mind. The mind is where it's not the right side of the heart. First it's the moyach, where the nefesh elikus is present mostly, and it must shade from the moyach to the halal yemini, which is the chabad. That's the chabad. Where the good inclination abides, reveals itself. Right. So that battle's going on within, between the right and the left. But remember, the moyach is sholet.
Right.
So halacha kedivrei machriya, the verdict rests with the arbiter, who are Baruch Hu. The Holy One, blessed be, comes to the aid of the good inclination. So this is really important. This is like the key to understanding all the rest of the Avoda, everything about constantly asking Hashem, Ozeli, help me. There's constant need for Hashem. The whole concept of tefillah. The only way you can survive this inner struggle is with Hashem's help.
But also what the Tanya is doing here also is he's basically explaining that, again, he set us up to feel like the Beinoni is this level we can't achieve. And now suddenly he's telling us that level you think you can't achieve, you are that level. And not only that, within that level, people have these crazy thoughts. Like we have these thoughts like, oh, let me run this guy off the road. Right, let me,
it's out of character even.
Right, so you run the guy off the road, let me the guy who comes collecting, and let me just slide the door, and what the Baal Tanya is saying is that no, this not only that he says he says your left side, right? Your right side. Or which side are we talking about? Because your heart's on your left side. But I think you're saying the small, which is the left side. All right. So he's saying that you're the side of the Yitzhak, that nefesh bahamas, that part first gives you that initial response of like, let's do that, which is interesting, right? He's saying the Beinoni first addresses a situation with a thought from the place of the Bahamas, of the place of from that place where we're gonna say run the guy off the road. We're gonna say I'm not gonna just collect their money, But then what happens is your brain, which is Charlotte on your heart, then comes and bringing Hashem into the picture. It ends up.
Hashem helps you, but now also another way of looking at it, not just about how much we're dependent on Hashem to strengthen our Yitzchak and the Mayach and the Lev, the right to light to overcome this Yitzchak. That's also, but there's another nakuda that I would say that Hashem's watching us with this inner struggle and getting nachas from it, because He's seeing us struggling with this nefesh bahamis, which is a human reality.
Yeah.
And we're constantly overcoming it, and that in itself is tremendous pleasure for Hashem, because we're constantly choosing Him. Whereas remember, the Tzaddik Gomer, he doesn't have this battle.
Right.
So that's why we always say that Baal Tshuva Omdim is a high madrega.
Right.
This concept, the person who's in the struggle actually has a milah. The inner struggle is a strength, because it's a constant thing. There's no escape from it.
Right.
Unless you become Mamish Tzaddik Gomer, which is unlikely. So you're just constantly struggling your whole life, and that's constantly making an achasuch to Hashem, because you're showing how much you love Hashem constantly, even when you have this force telling you not.
And I'm sure I don't know if the Baal Tanya goes there in many ways. The Beinoni, his chus is like mamish, because he's just grinding day to day.
That's it. Yeah.
But Tzaddik Gomer is like checkmate.
Yeah. Now
he
his
beat
problem.
The system.
Yeah, but his problem then is everyone else. That's
then becomes his responsibility.
Yeah, that's why I always say Shalom Sani Rabbi, because I wouldn't want to have. I wouldn't want to, or Shalom Sani Tzaddik Gomer, because I wouldn't want to have to be
responsible for.
Because once you're not coming here for you, you're coming here. You're already good. You're coming here for everyone else. They have to stand there and constantly be available for everyone.
That feels
and
like
then,
too much.
It's like Moshe Weinberg of mine. I don't know if he's a Tzaddik Gomer, probably Tzaddik She'ena Gomer, but if he's standing there, he's got to deal with everybody's stories.
He
day
holds
after
on
day
to
after
people's,
day after day, and he's a sensitive neshama, so he's constantly dealing and dealing and dealing. So it's such a weight.
Sometimes will open up. I've been talking to him over the years, and he'll just sometimes
I've heard it from others.
He just says just the things he deals with, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
When Simon once said, I can't sober the Nisyonis of Baal Tshuva Chassidim, so it's just the hardest sugya.
Right.
He said that to me once, and I was like, well, Rebbe, I'm one of those, so you can't sober me, getting rid of me. And in the end, he's like, got to tell the Rebbe, good answer, because it's too much.
Rebbe Weinberger gets different. Rebbe Weinberger gets I don't know how many, but I bet you on a daily basis, he gets suicide messages.
Wow.
Daily, he gets messages from people who are I'm ready to kill myself. He gets daily.
YY talks about
numerous ones.
YY Jacobson's become a huge force where he can't answer anybody anymore, by email. He used to answer my emails, doesn't anymore.
Right.
As an actual automatic response. So he used to answer, now he can't. So one of the things I heard him say recently, 2 weeks ago or something, he said in a shir, he said, my vote often now is to learn to let go, that it's not my responsibility. Because people are coming to me constantly, and I have to learn to let go, that I'm not here to fix everybody. I'll fix who I can fix. I'll help myself. I'll help the people. Whatever I can do, I will do. But whatever I'm not meant to do, I have to accept it and be besimcha with that.
Right.
That's his nisayon,
Mm-hmm.
Even as a parent, I've realized again and again. Because, for example, my kids were late for davening, and I want them to do Birkas Kohanim, Birkas Shalom, at least come to that part. Fine. They don't make it to Pazuka December, but they can at least make it to the end part of the davening. Yeah. That much I like. Generally, they do. But this week they didn't. So I was a bit upset. And I had to work on myself. First I said busha to them, so I'm embarrassed that you came so late. But then I was no, I have to be shalom, I have to be simple, because the fact that they come b'chlal, the fact that you saw them sitting in a shir, and you have to just tune into what they do, not what they don't do. Yeah. And that's you have to strengthen their Yetzer Tov, not strengthen the Yetzer Hara, which will make, because the more you put them down, the more they strengthen, the more they think, then I'm never going to get up. You have to give them the belief that they can do it. So then they
It's
do
not
do
easy.
it. Yeah.
It's easy with other people's kids.
Yeah.
It's not easy with your own kids.
I like every week I say, look, in the last Shabbos, I'm like, guys, it's big Shabbos this week. Generally, it always is for some reason or another. Like, let's make it, let's calm this down and because Kanye makes Hashem happy when all of you are there and at least myself, Anyway, but that's the point. We're trying to strengthen this YITZCHAK voice to overcome the YITZRAEL, and we have to do it for ourselves, but we have to also strengthen other people around us as well. The help that God grants the glow of divine light illuminates his divine soul. And that's what Hashem's doing for us. If we're doing it for others, I'm sure Hashem can do it even more for us.
Right.
But the point is, Hashem is illuminating the divine light that illuminates the divine soul. So that the idea is that we're asking Hashem, Hashem, please help me overcome this struggle every day. Yeah, we say it every morning in because of Shachar, we ask Hashem to help us fight the YITZRAEL. We're davening all the time. Yeah, and even before that, that tefillah is all about the Muhammad YITZRAEL, and to ask Hashem every day. They may gain superiority after the folly of the fool. That's the neshama, the nefesh elikus. Christian or minachoshik now, and it's able to have dominion and superiority of light over darkness, as we already learned. The idea that mat min oz darka haba min hachoshech, there's a little bit of light, gets rid of a lot of darkness. That is the koach of Hashem giving lightening up on the neshama. So that's what I quoted you, by the way, this week when you mentioned about Ben Shapiro. So I said, like he's a tochim, he seems to know so much. But then you said, but he's missing light a little bit. Yeah, he doesn't share enough light. He shows a lot of facts, but not enough light. Right. So I said, I'm saying to tell us, he probably knows this about himself anyway. I'm not talking Lashon Hara, it's public. He's a public person, so I don't think it's Lashon Hara to talk about. It's just a reality. So my son said to me, which might be Lashon Hara, but I'll say it anyway because my Rebbe makes jokes like this. He says, probably because he's a litvak. I said, how do you know? He said, he sounds like it, the way you talk about him, and I've a little bit heard of him. He sounds a bit like a litvak. Because my son has this whole thing of litvaks. He's very chassidish, my son.
Which one?
The oldest.
Oh, the oldest son?
Yeah. He's very into he didn't like chassidish, but the other way. He only went to chassidish places.
Right, he looks like an Uman Yid.
Yeah, he's into awe. He wants awe. His thing's light. So he's like, yeah, it has to be light.
I've actually been feeling the call to go to Meshbitz now.
Yeah. Oh, after Shah Sudis.
And I was thinking,
I read my son as well when
both I was talking with somebody who was talking to me about Meshbitz, and I was like, he was saying the exact same thing I felt.
Holy place, holy energy.
There's a lot of Hashem shul.
Hashem shul is beautiful. The mikveh there, the mayan, and also the where the kevarim are. There's so many tzaddikim there.
Right.
YISRAEL, the Degamachne Ephraim, just go on and on, all the different Baruch Mezovich. There's so many tzaddikim, Fega and Udu and all the mishpacha from Baal Shem,
right?
And about obviously the Baal Shem himself, and there's some other tzaddikim as well. Some of his Talmidim. I think it's Volv. I think that was the story, by the way, when you mentioned the story. Shout Sidus, which Shlomo couldn't remember the name of the Talmud, but I think it was Volv. That was the Talmud he was referring to. I don't like to shout out. One, I might be wrong. Number two is like commenting.
Right.
The Rebbe answers.
So let me just look at this.
Oh yeah, please.
So Hashem assists you. What is the divine one? Eliezer he ha'hehara shemi'ir Hashem al nefesh elikus.
This light.
This assistance.
Divine assistance. Divine assistance. With what? With the YITZRAEL. I'm going to open up the old version to see if there's anything
here, he says a very interesting zach here.
Go on.
But why does the divine soul need a glimmer of God's light? Which I guess is you see here is
it's Hashem's helping us. It's light, sending light to us.
Ha-ha-ara. Surely the soul is itself God, the Retz Nefesh Elikus. What do you need to add?
Yeah.
On one hand, it is a soul.
It says about the judges, the sea of passions, the intellect is the forte of the divine soul. So old school Lashon.
So he says here, the assistants, right? The Eliezer, the Tanya here is speaking of. Who's Lahak? What is it? The Rebbe? Teres Menachem. This is the Rebbe. We're assuming the Rebbe's turn.
Yeah.
He's saying this assistance that the Tanya here speaks of, the Eliezer, is actually the divine soul's, the Nefesh Elikos's ability to get in touch with its true self.
Oh.
To stop for a moment, being bound by the limitations of a soul, and to behave in accordance with its inner, truly divine identity.
Wow. I mean, that's a big psychological point that
Right.
cognitive therapy would definitely agree with this.
Right, that's it.
The idea of identifying yourself with your neshama, with your soul,
Right.
and not with your nefesh bahamas. That is like, that's Eckhart Tolle, like, summed up better than
A
Eckhart
lot
Tolle.
of like 12-step programs is also like that. It's all about,
Your
noticing your
higher
higher power. And so someone says, Mamish, I want to drink alcohol, I want to get trashed, I want to drive, I want to do an 8-ball right now.
Yeah.
And
I was a bit shook of the Shabbos after.
well, say we're talking
because after the Kiddush, I went back to someone else's Itamar's house, and they gave me a whole load of other types of that. So I went through Iraq, whiskey, wine, vodka.
That's a good mix.
There was something else. I think.
Bira, you had bira?
Beer as well. So that's 5 different types, all within a space of like 2 hours. Right after davening, hardly.
You were being.
I was dancing to mincha.
You were being.
I was dancing in mincha.
Oh wow!
The Rav was like had a little twinkle in his eye when he saw how like freilich I was.
You have to.
Eliezer not usually this so jolly.
Huh?
He was like, you're usually not so jolly. The good thing is I behaved myself. I didn't do anything crazy. So that's good news.
Yeah, I feel like I was talking to a friend. I feel like we need to make the shul needs a little more like
Joy?
simcha.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the war. I don't know.
It's the war. It wasn't like this before the war. It was much more happy.
Like
It did add a level of seriousness because a lot of parents of soldiers, including myself, and people have gone through some heavy things with family and friends.
Right.
But no, the Rav knows this. He's just more a Gevordik person.
Right.
You can see he's very connected with Weinberg. It's very Gevordik energy.
Right.
But there is elements of people here who bring that kind of vibe. But there's also when you're in shul not to speak.
Right.
To stump. So they don't want it to become like a social vibe. So there's that balance.
Right. Exactly.
I do feel there needs to be a bit more for Brennan style experiences where we actually can schmooze and not just have constant droshes.
I want to bring up Joey here for Fabregan. He does something. He's like amazing at Fabregan.
Yeah, but just like actually where we actually talk, not just him talking. Because we need to
both.
I need both. Because we need to be able to just schmooze the bissel. Very important. Like one of the reasons why I loved Fabregan is like a real Chabad Fabregan is because there's always those times where the guy's not speaking.
Away.
Yeah, and you're singing, dancing, a lot of back and forth.
Maybe I'll text him for Zion Adar.
It's a good idea. It's coming up. My wife's Yom Leila as well.
Oh yeah, Zion Adar?
Yeah, I'm a week later on Purim. She's Zion Adar, so this is our time. Our English birthdays were Gavain already. So
you guys are born in Zion Adar?
Yeah.
In Adar?
Yeah, Zion Adar, and then I'm Purim, so I'm a week after. She's a week older. Your mom is
Purim?
Yeah, she's a week after me.
Oh, you were born, your parents didn't really keep Purim.
Well, maybe they knew about it. I mean, my grandparents.
I'm saying, which is crazy also. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably better because then they weren't drinking.
Right.
Purim. But anyway, so let's go.
So as we're saying
so underneath here it says there's a question. It would say, why then should he need special divine assistance in curbing his appetites? So naturally, like you said, they're going to want to drink, they're going to want to do drugs, all this kind of stuff's around us all the time. The Rebbe Shlita answers, the divine assistance is necessary where the conflict between the two souls does not involve a struggle of mind versus heart. When the divine soul wishes to prevent sinful thoughts from rising in the mind, when the emotional factors of the divine soul seek to overpower those of the animal soul. But now, the question may be reversed. Why does, in chapter 12, the Alter Rebbe use the argument of the mind's natural supremacy over the heart, point out divine soul supremacy over the animal soul? To this is Rebbe Shlita answers. In chapter 12, the Alter Rebbe speaks of state of the Beinoni after prayer.
Right.
When the effect of the meditation of godliness during prayer still lingers in mind. At such time his mind is suffused with godliness to point out where the animal soul cannot so much as voice an opinion there. Thus, any struggle between the soul at the time would be a case of mind versus heart, where the natural supremacy of the mind could confer victory on the divine soul. So you say, be not wicked in your estimation. Maybe you had that at the beginning. If a man considers himself wicked, he would grieve at heart and depressed. He'd not be able to serve Hashem properly with joy. That was the point. It was Chodesh Adam. Adam Ma'ab and Simcha. The main victory we're going to have over the YITZCHAK is how much we increase in Simcha.
Yeah.
That's the real Hatzlacha of this time. He now explains the meaning of the oath, which actually means be your own eyes like a Rasha. Is that regards himself not as equal as Rasha, but like one, having traits similar to those of Rasha. That means he must consider himself a Beinoni, who possesses the same evil in his soul as does a Rasha, and Zayva just as a Rasha does. But he's not going to actually once again, live it, give it to it. That's going to be the next Nakuda. Should we go? We got time enough to go into next shtickle? Yeah, we got enough time. Ach ma'achashav ra halav smuli Beinoni hu tekufa b'tidaso lis taivas taiva lechol tanug elamazeh. Insomuch as the even left part of the Beinoni's heart is in its native strength, craving after all pleasure of this world. Lo nisbatu miyat legabi hatov lo niditcha mekom meklau. As neither so minute as we know for the good of the divine soul, nor has it been displaced from its position to any degree. Raksha eino shlita memshala lespashet very guf. But he lacks authority and power to become diffused throughout the limbs of the body, and therefore to cause him to speak bad, or to think bad, or to act bad. Yeah. So the Rasha, he's not able to. The native strength of the eights or the left side actually does prevail.
Wow.
So it's you can see it. So it's interesting because the world, the one famous thought leader that comes to mind says, I don't know if he's someone worth listening to generally, but this one point is a powerful point. He said it's all about borders. It's all about boundaries. Because in the end, it's all about land. Like you see in Israel with land. Who owns this? Who owns that? All the more conflicts of history have all come through whoever owns what. So now inside a person, there's a YITZCHAK, YITZRAEL. It's like who's Sholet. So by this Beinoni, the YITZCHAK is always Sholet, but there's still this constant presence of Hamas or Hezbollah. They're always there. Yeah, but they're not Sholet. They're not Sholet. If they say Halavai, the Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, the army were Sadiqim, all Sadiqim, and so was the Medina. Everyone was serving Hashem. Right. So then, like times of David Melech. So in that time, they were Sholet. They didn't wipe out the Plishtim, but they still were Sholet. So David Melech never allowed them to fully conquer Israel. They always conquered them, but they still were around, making bayat, making trouble. Right. And in Israel, there's an Indian to purify the land. It's not genocide. It's part of the Chas Shalom. It's part of the clarification. Just like within each person, there has to be a shlita of the YITZCHAK, the neshama. So Eretz is a pure place. It has to have that kind of people. It's about the mir gabi atov, no dech. As neither minutes to be notified for the good of the divine soul, has it been space for eternity. Because the Holy One stands at the right hand of the poor man, and helping him, irradiating his divine soul and be able to prevail over the good. So he's doing that as a nation, but he's doing it within us, each of us, every single person, the right hand of the poor man. That's the pasuk in Psalms. Right. We're like poor on a certain level. We don't have kayak to overcome this malach and this nefesh bahamas. It's very strong. The world's very physical. Comes Hashem and says, "No, you've got the strength because I'm going to light you up, your mind, your heart." That's the only divine intervention that the evil prevents from invading the body. And actually, however, the evil of Beinoni's soul is as strong as it was at birth. Because remember, you're born with very strong Yitzhak. Yeah, you just want physical. You're not yet learning and davening. Yeah. Therefore, the Beinoni is described as Kurasha. He's not actually a Rasha, he's not listening to it, but he considers himself like a Rasha. Even if the whole tells you that you are a Tzaddik, Beinoni is like a Rasha because you're aware. You haven't lost that self-awareness, you have a Nefesh Bahamas. Lo Rasha Mamish. You're not an actual Rasha, you're not doing Averas. And it doesn't also hinder you from serving Hashem joyfully because you're not identifying with it. You're not saying I am a Rasha, you're saying I'm like a Rasha.
He actually said here we're trying to answer that question for the beginning.
Yeah.
Which says even if the world tells you you're a tzaddik, you have to consider
that was the beginning of
Tanya.
Tanya. Yeah.
And so, and then the flip side where it's don't consider you're Russia, right? The stira that he had. Sure. So here he's answering that. That's what.
Good.
MASHA Omer.
Yes. Rather, one should consider himself a Beinoni. And one should not believe the world's opinion, which he understands that this was the Chiddush that Tanya was bringing to Am around the world, that people thought as long as you don't do the YITZCHAK, then you're a Tzaddik. But that's not the point. No, you're not. The YITZCHAK is there, so therefore you're Beinoni.
Like a Rasha is a Beinoni.
Yeah, because the one who's bottled his YITZCHAK, whereas the judge is now quietened. It can't even say anything. It's just some tiny miyat of miyat shabamiyat. It's nothing. It's a gornished. Right. That kind of YITZCHAK is a tzaddik. That's the tzaddik.
Even if you achieve
there's no voice, even
an internal self-mastery, never sinning, or
there's no
even
judge of the left side.
Sin,
It's gone.
You cannot be sure that you are a tzaddik. You may just be a Beinoni.
Yeah.
Your external behavior is in your complete control. Even your negative thoughts can be replaced with good ones, but your deep emotional core is resistant to change.
Yeah. It says, Eli beinav ki'ilu mahusa tzmusa shara tekufo gvorasa b'hala smoli kedodosoi. Instead, he should take the view the essence and core of the evil in its full native strength and might in the left part of his heart, lo cholef v'holech v'meinu mu'uma. Not vanished or departed from it at all. Adarabba, this chazak goes to Hemshech Zman, Nishtamish Bahabe. With the passage of time, the evil was gained strength because he utilized the animal soul considerably by Achila, V'shtia, V'sha'in, Yalamazeh. So you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with the things that give koach to the YITZCHAK.
Right.
Achila, Shtia. But it doesn't mean you have to listen to it.
Right.
You understand? You don't have to speak it. You don't have to act on it. You're strengthening it somewhat. So it's going to come back. When you're not davening and learning, these forces are going to be awakened.
Right.
As of every factory, the continuous animal soul causes it to become even stronger than it was at birth. That's one of the interesting things of Purim. Purim is sort of like takes this whole concept and puts it on its head. Because you drink and you eat, you do so much physicality, but for some reason it all becomes spiritual, all becomes Ad Liyoda, all becomes like a level of Kedusha somehow. They also do the Kedusha, consider yourself like a Rashi, even it means that one must consider himself a Beinoni.
Adarabba.
Yeah, that Adarab is important. You have to, because you're Machazik the YITZCHAK through just being a normal human being.
Yeah.
Eating and drinking and things you have to do as a husband or whatever. For should one consider himself a tzaddik and maintain that evil within him has already been nullified, he will cease to do battle with evil. So that would be a mistake. That's when people make a mistake, when they start thinking that they're holding. You meet people like that in the film world, they think they're holding.
Right.
Where they've actually reached a level of shlita on the YITZCHAK, and then now they start to, it's maybe a narcissist thing, I don't know, but they start claiming as if they're the tzaddik on a certain level, and therefore, like they've conquered all these not good midas, and it's dimyonis, they have not. And then they start acting out some of those YITZCHAKs thinking that they're tzaddik. Because they've confused themselves.
Right.
You understand? But with the lack of clarity, the confusion takes over. When you have clarity and you know, no, I have a nefesh bahamis, I'm going to be real with that. And I'm going to constantly fight that, and the struggle's never going to end. That's a much more humble, real place.
Right.
And pretending you're a tzaddik when you're not, because you had a moment you were by a tzaddik and he elevated you because you were in his dynamics and his tefillahs.
Right.
He elevated you. For years, when I was by Tzimah, I felt like a tzaddik.
Wow.
But what was the reality? I'd come home and throw a chair out the window if my kids were driving me nuts.
Right.
And I did do that. So what was the reality? What's the reality?
Beinoni, right?
Beinoni or worse, yeah? That I was, while I'm in this presence of the tzaddik, he's elevating me into a state of the vakus and his balance I wouldn't get to by myself.
Right.
But the whole real tikkun is, am I doing it within myself? What's going on? Am I facing my nefesh bahamis? Am I dealing with my YITZCHAK? I'm not pretending I'm a tzaddik. So that's why it's so important to have this clarity. Because then you're not kidding yourself. Because what happens when someone starts thinking they're a tzaddik and they're no longer fighting, what's going to happen?
And then the YITZCHAK really steps in.
Yeah, exactly.
Gives you that blow.
So to at least know you're in the fight, that in itself is a massive... We're in the fight. I mean, we're in it to win. And as the Berber said, he always used to say, this is not a spectator sport. This is full participation. Yeah? Full participation. You got to be fully up for it every day. And we're not spectators. Purim and Yiddishkeit is
Yiddishkeit is not a spectator sport.
No, it's a fully engaged, active, and all in with the fight as well, the inner struggle.